Help support Name Explain by liking this video, leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel. The name of the Caribbean Sea is believed to derive from, like many places, the people who resided there, the Caribs. More on them later. However, their name of Carib is believed to come from Arawakan languages, again more on them later, and would have been spelled something like Kalingo or Carina or Calino before evolving into Carib thanks to the Spanish. It's believed that this initial name however meant brave ones or the strong men. Eventually Carib for these people was settled upon, and the Ian suffix was added to the end of their name to make the name for their homelands. I personally like to think that this suffix was chosen so Caribbean Sea rhymes nicely with Mediterranean Sea, but nevertheless the name Caribbean was cemented for not just the sea, but for the many islands that are dotted within the Caribbean Sea. And oh boy are there many islands in the Caribbean. In fact, I read in their entirety there are more than 7,000 separate islands that make up the islands of the Caribbean, and these can vary in size and status. Some are huge and nations unto themselves, like the island of Cuba being almost 41,000 square miles in size, to the tiny Isla Maluas, which is just 2 square miles in size and is part of Mexico. And of course many enjoyed the Caribbean, from holiday makers to swashbuckling pirates to millionaire tax dodgers, many even lucky enough to call these sun-drenched islands their home. And there are so many islands and nations that make up the Caribbean, we have found ways of breaking up this large group of islands into smaller groups of islands. I've seen the Caribbean split in a couple ways, perhaps the most simple division being the Western Caribbean and the Eastern Caribbean, but since when have we enjoyed simple? It also seems that the islands of the Caribbean can be broken into 2 groups called the Antilles, the Greater and Lesser Antilles to be specific. Where this word Antilles came from, however, is up for debate. It seems the popular theory is that it comes from the Portuguese ante and illa, meaning before and island respectively. However, ideas I also read is that it comes from the Gaelic an Antelia, which together mean waterland, and that it comes from anti, meaning opposite, as these islands are on the opposite side of the planet for Europeans, and that this name may even refer to Atlantis or even the Arabic Alatin, meaning the dragons, referencing sea serpents that would appear on maps of unknown areas. Though, just to make things even more confusing, the Lesser Antilles are often broken down once again into 2 smaller groups of islands. These are the Leeward Islands and the Windward Islands. The Leeward Islands are the more northern of the Lesser Antilles, while the Windward are the more southern. These names of Leeward and Windward are actually old nautical terms for wind and sailing. Islands have windward and leeward sides. The island's windward side is the side that faces the strong winds, while its leeward side is the side sheltered from these winds thanks to mountains and such. This is called leeward as lee is thought to be an old term for warm, and the leeward side would have been the warmer side for sure. So it seems that the more northern Leeward Islands were more protected by the winds, while the southern Windward Islands weren't as lucky. So just to bring up to speed, we have the Caribbean Islands, which are broken down into the Greater Antilles and the Lesser Antilles, and then the Lesser Antilles get broken down into the further 2 subgroups of the Leeward Island and Windward Islands, so just a tad confusing. Though we aren't really here to look into the names these islands have of groups, but rather the names these islands have been given individually. And from looking at a map of the Caribbean, you'll notice certain trends in these names. Things seem to get rather saintly. Is that even a word? I don't know, but I'm making it one. We have islands with names like St. Lucia and St. Vincent and St. Martin. In fact, we actually have a whole video talking about why so many Caribbean islands have saint names. Cheap plug aside, however, even the islands that don't have saint names have names that have something with a European sound to them. Of course, these names sound so European because of the instrumental role that Columbus and other European powers played in not just the Caribbean, but on the Americas as a whole. In fact, the first ever European town in the Americas was on the Caribbean island of Hispaniola, La Isabela. We can only really begin to imagine what these islands would be like today if European powers didn't claim so much just a few hundred years ago. They wouldn't be empty, however, that's for sure. We know for a fact there are already people living on many of these islands before the arrival of Columbus and other Europeans. In fact, it's that people were living on these islands over 5,000 years ago, which is just a tad earlier than Columbus visiting in the 1400s. The earliest are thought to be the Caboni people. They are believed to have arrived in the Caribbean islands via Florida and other southern parts of North America, settling the islands of Cuba and Hispaniola among others. While we have evidence of the Caboni people from at least 5,000 years ago, it is most likely they were there earlier. However, it seems that the Caboni people were more or less completely killed off as other natives of the Americas came to live on these islands. This made way for the seemingly more well-known indigenous natives of the Caribbean islands, the Arawak people and the Carib people, who yes, we mentioned at the very start of this video. While the Caboni people arrived from the south of North America, it seems the Arawak and the Carib people came from the north of South America. So if you're being pedantic, none of these people are technically natives to the Caribbean, as they too arrived on these islands from other masses of land. Also, the Arawak people split up into smaller groups of people too, such as the Taino and the Ignurli people, and as I mentioned at the start of this video, the Carib people are known by different names like Kalingo and Karina. But to save things getting more confusing, let's just stick with calling these people the Arawak and Carib, and call their languages that too, though there wasn't just one Arawak language. I'm sure someone who knows more about all this will be telling you in detail in the comments. Nevertheless, these people dispersed across the islands of the Caribbean and called them home, and of course they gave the various islands they called home names. Unsurprisingly, they didn't name them after saints of Christianity. I know, right, who would have thought? It would seem these islands actually have a huge variety of names given to them across the various Arawak and Carib languages. In fact, in a move that makes my life so much easier, Wikipedia have very kindly done most of the legwork for this video and compiled a, and I quote, list of indigenous names of Eastern Caribbean islands. So that's super handy for someone who likes names like me. Once again, thank you Wikipedia. And hey, before you complain, at least I'm being transparent on my use of the website. Go tell me I'm lazy down in the comments. What's interesting when looking through these names is that it seems these natives had certain conventions too when it came to naming things, and it seems they were very big fans of naming after geographical features and just descriptive names in general, as the native names for many of these islands are very descriptive, a lot of them being the land of something or another. It's also interesting to note that while many of these names are completely different to the names they are more popularly known by today, some of these native names are actually pretty similar to the names we use today. So let's look into these native names for these islands, and I also better just give a big apology for my pronunciation of some of these names. We have the Leeward Islands of the Lesser Antilles, and within the Leeward Islands we have the island of Anguilla, which is a British overseas territory. Its indigenous name, however, is the Arawak Maliohuana, and this name means arrow-shaped sea serpent, perhaps due to a legend of a sea monster in this area. There's also the island of St. Martin that is part Dutch and part French. Funnily enough, this island also has two Arawak names, Soulaga and Oualiki, which mean land of salt and land of beautiful women respectively. The French island of St. Barth has the Arawak name of Ouanleo, which means toad on top, oddly enough. And the Dutch island of Saba has the name Saba Amonhana, meaning the rock. St. Eustatius is Dutch too, and its native name is Aloy, meaning cashew tree. The island of St. Croix is part of the US Virgin Islands, and its Taino name of Ai means the river. The two islands of St. Kitts and Nevis actually make up one single nation of St. Kitts and Nevis. However, St. Kitts' Carib name of Lameuga means fertile land, and Nevis's name of Ouali means land of beautiful water. The island of Montserrat is a British overseas territory. Its Carib name of Alajuana means land of prickly bush. The nation of Antigua and Barbuda is made up of the two islands of Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua's native name Waladil means land of fish oil, while Barbuda's name of Waiomoni means land of heron/large birds. And of course, for the Leewards there's also the French Guadeloupe, which has the name of Caruquera, meaning island of beautiful waters. In the Windward Islands we have Dominica, what has the Carib name of Wa Tukubuli, meaning tall is her body, while the French Martinique has the native name of Madininia, meaning a land of flowers. St. Lucia may be the only country in the world named after a real woman, but its native name of Heronora doesn't really reflect this, meaning land of the iguana. St. Vincent of St. Vincent and the Grenadines fame is called Hauluna in the Carib, and this means land of the blessed. The Grenadines, however, are made up of multiple islands, three of these being Bequia, Canuan and Caracu. In Carib, these are called Bequian, Canuan and Cariocu respectively, and respectively these names mean islands of clouds, turtles and reefs. We also have the island of Grenada, which in Carib is called Camajon, meaning of all things Conception Island. And finally we have the largest islands of the Caribbean, which make up the Greater Antilles. This includes Jamaica, which in Arawakan is called Jamaica, which means land of wood and water, or maybe land of spring. Cuba's native name of Cobeo means means large island / place, which makes sense as it is the largest Caribbean island. Puerto Rico's name of Bolican means land of the valiant and noble land, and Hispaniola's native name of Ayiti Kiseke means rough earth, mother of all lands. Though there's something of extra interest with the island of Hispaniola. It's the only island in the Caribbean, along with the French / Dutch St. Martin, that belongs to two different groups of people. On its eastern side it is the nation of the Dominican Republic, while on its western side it is the nation of Haiti. What I like about these two names is that they represent both halves of the Caribbean, as one of these names is of European creation and the other is of native origin, with the European one being the Dominican Republic and the native one being Haiti, of course. We are more interested in native names today, so let's look into Haiti. Don't feel too sorry for the Dominican Republic, however, as it has a video unto itself. Haiti is one of the few countries in the Caribbean to still have that original native name. In fact, I read somewhere that the name Haiti once applied to the entire island of Hispaniola. The name Haiti is Arawakan and means land of high mountains. However, while that name is ancient and while the country may have it today, that wasn't always the case. While the entirety of the island of Hispaniola was under Spanish rule, in 1659 the western half of the island was overtaken by the French. The French named their new territory Sainte Domingue. This part of the world stayed under French rule all the way until 1804, when the locals finally pushed the French out and gained independence in their western half of this island. And to celebrate this independence, a new name was given to the island, with the new name being that original name the land had many years before European invasion, Haiti. And so the name Haiti is in its place to this very day, and remains one of the few native names still present and intact across the entirety of the Caribbean. Haiti was suggested by Rob Green, and thanks to their suggestion, they will now be honoured as Name Explain's patron saint of Haiti. Do you have a good idea for somewhere that's name could be covered in a Name Explain video? If so, then please consider donating on Patreon. Just $1 a month helps keep the channel running and earns you a weekly chance to suggest somewhere to be turned into a video, and you too could be a Name Explain Patreon saint. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just a small amount of $2 a month helps in a huge way, grants you Patreon exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you. Hello all, and thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Stick around and check out another video and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Name Explain. You can follow myself on Twitter at NameExplainYT. Follow me there and tweet the name Leon at me so know you came from this message. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again thank you all so much.